Crusader Kings 3 has 5 total lifestyles to choose from, and within those there are 3 separate focuses or branches to go off of. With the launch of the new Fate of Iberia DLC and the console version, you might be asking yourself which lifestyle is the best or what focuses really stand out. Well, in this video, we're going to rank each of the individual branches on a tier list from rank D all the way up to rank S. Then at the end of the video, I'll take the average score of each branch to ultimately rank each of the trees. Before we get started with this video, I want to make it clear that there is really no absolutely terrible branch to choose from, hence why there's no F tier. And a lot of this is, of course, my opinion. So if you really like something I've put in a lower tier and have a supporting playstyle, let it be known in the comment section below. Maybe I'm approaching, say, Theologian entirely wrong and you have a great way of capitalizing on the benefits. Half the joy of CK3 is playing the game in the way that you want. You can jump ahead to any portion that interests you the most by using the chapters in both the timeline of the description. So if you want to jump to tier S or F or whatever it is, D, you can go ahead and just do that below. And if you haven't yet picked up the Fate of Iberia DLC pack, you can use my link to my Nexus store in the description and pinned comment. Nexus works directly with the developer to get you a Steam key and also gives me a cut of every sale that works significantly towards helping to keep the channel alive as well as my brand new puppy fed. Well, let's get started on my lifestyle focused tier list for Crusader Kings 3. So here we are in the D tier and we're going to talk about Seducer. It's really the only thing in this section. And the way I'm going to do this is talk about some of the standout perks or reasons that I've put them in this respective tier and what have you. And Seducer is one of those lifestyle focuses, and Intrigue in general is a lifestyle focus that is extremely active. You don't have a lot of passive buffs that are really going to be pushing you through the game. You have to actively fabricate hooks, work on abducting people, work on seducing people, work on torturing people, whatever it is of these 3 lifestyle focuses. So it's just kind of worth mentioning that. And with that in mind too, single player, it's fun and it can get kind of boring. But when you're playing multiplayer, or maybe you're trying to do a specific role-playing scenario, Seducer is extremely fun. There's nothing more frustrating than when you're trying to play against someone or someone's playing against you and you're just like seducing their wife and or you're just killing off their kids, whatever it is. You can completely turn someone's gameplay upside down if you're playing multiplayer with the entire Intrigue line. So just kind of keep those things in mind. Like I was saying, a lot of it is going to be circumstantial. We'll go with that. But Seducer, for the most part, is going to help you with fertility, with seducing, hence the name, stuff like that, with the success chance of it and the scheme power. So overall, I find it to be a very extremely niche focus, and as a result too, I find that the things that you get from it are not overly beneficial. I think that it could work really well with something in conjunction with it, but unless you're trying to have a heap of kids, the overall 20% fertility bonus from Seducer and the 20% fertility bonus from Temptation focus, it's really not worth it to me. I find Seducer to just really be at that complete bottom tier of the game. Now again, it's not an F tier. I just think that it has this very specific focus, and unless you want to benefit from that focus, you're better off choosing any of the other focuses in all the other lifestyles. Moving into the C tier, we have 2 branches that are in diplomacy and then one that's in learning. So the first one we're going to talk about here is Diplomat. And Diplomat can give us some pretty interesting bonuses, right? Opinion gained from Send Gift, Ducal or Ducal Conquest. So it gives you that Ducal Conquest CB, which is actually probably the best perk in this entire line, because Ducal Conquest allows you to really expand your land quickly. But there's so many other types of conquests or casus bellis that you can take advantage of that I find it to be a little redundant, especially because there is a innovation that'll just give you that naturally. So depending on what starting age you're going with and where your innovations are at, this can be kind of a bit of a redundancy. Adaptive Traditions here helps with some languages. Foreign Affairs, you get to defensive negotiations, will help out with some vassal opinion. Flexible truces is nice to get shorter truces, but I mean overall I find that Diplomat is again very use specific. I think overall though, the benefits you get from it are better than say Seducer, because you can get stuff like forced vassalization and that Ducal Conquest. Then Accomplished Forger here allows you to buy artifact claims, and you can fabricate claims on counties faster at 75%, which really helps you expand if you're landlocked around someone that you're just having to constantly fabricate around you. Then Diplomat, as its ultimate perk too, does help out with personal scheme power, as well as independent ruler opinion, which is very nice, and diplomacy increase. Now, into family hierarchy, I find the best thing here is groomed to rule. Children receive 1 to 3 extra skill points. So you could really never really touch the rest of this entire tree and just get this for whatever playthrough and get a ton of benefit out of it. So I do find groomed to rule to be very, very good. And befriend is also very great, but if you're playing with the new Fate of Iberia DLC, you'll just get befriend if you're in the opportunity phase. So depending on where you're playing on the map, this can or cannot be overly useful for you. Also, you get the challenge to board game interaction, which is kind of fun. But Confidence allows you to get less stress gain for each friend that you've got, and Flatterer also increases the befriend scheme power. So you have all 3 of these reliant upon friendship, which is cool and all, but not amazing. Then Heart of Family gives you close family opinion increase, which is again a little negligible as far as its overall usefulness. Personal scheme success chance plus 25% against family members. So again, unless you're really trying to do stuff with your family, I find family hierarchy to be a little more niche. Friendly counsel though does help out with each of your friend relations, give you 2 random skill points to a max of 5. And then sound foundations, each living child gives you 1 random skill point, max of 5. Now, sound foundations, I think, were that further up on this list, it can make family hierarchy a little bit better. But as we jump down into patriarch, we get this final one with a fertility increase, stress loss, and close family opinion and house opinion. So again, I don't really find this one to be too amazing. It can maybe kind of explode in the end, but I think that you need to have a very large family to get benefit out of it. Now, the other line here in the C tier is Theologian. Now, Theologian is extremely use case specific to doing a lot of work with religion. Do you want to reform your religion? Go down Theologian, because it's going to help you out once you get to things like, I think it's Defender of the Faith or Prophet, there it is. I find that overall it really doesn't give you that much benefit, right? Converting a faith and counting, that can be increased, which is cool, but you're better off just kind of doing that slowly or having vassals do it for you. Clerical Justifications has religious relations efficiency increases here for the actual council action. You've got religious icon to convert faith and county. This time it takes to convert a county is no longer increased if that faith has higher fervor than your faith. Church and state is going to help with realm priest relations or opinion. Prophet, this is the one I was talking about here. So faith, creation, reformation minus 50%. So if you're playing an 867 and you're playing as a Satru and you want to reform a Satru, well, this is the easiest way to do it to get a massive discount on it. Or you want to create a new faith, you can absolutely do that through here with that minus 50% reduction. Radiant helps with level of devotion impact, and then Defender of the Faith helps with tyranny, gain, same faith opinion. With Theologian, your ultimate perk, giving you learning and a monthly piety. So I just don't find Theologian to be 100% useful unless you're doing a lot of things that require piety and you're trying to reform a specific religion. Then by all means, it has an extremely good use case, right? Prophet alone is like the most valuable perk in this tree. But that concludes our C tier. Let's get into the B tier, where I think we're going to start finding a lot more broad use case lifestyle focuses. So again, with B tier, we're getting a lot more of a broad use case focus. And the first one I want to talk about is Strategist. And just the first one, Bellum Justum, is very great. So your CB cost is reduced by 50%, allowing you to do a lot more wars at a much reduced cost, either piety or fame related. And within this, again, you're going to find some perks that are going to be very specific to certain use cases, right? Like Parthian Tactics, that's going to help out with your light and heavy cav, your camels, your elephants, and your archer cav, all with their toughness and pursuit increased by 30% and 20% respectively, which is quite nice. But if you're not using any of that, it's not going to give you a ton of benefit. Playing, say, in the French characters where you do get a lot of benefit of using heavy cav, that's great. Or you're playing maybe something in Fate of Iberia where you do have light cav with caballeros or with camel cavalry quite in abundance. Those two things are going to really work out for you. Organized March is great here because it gives you movement speed increase for your army, and also it helps out with screening, meaning that if you lose a fight, you get an additional kind of ability to get more troops out of that fight. That's how screening works versus pursuit. Now, Engineer for Destruction is probably one of the most important perks on this list outside of Sappers, and this is going to give siege weapon effectiveness an increase of 40%. So this really is a huge perk that I think is awesome for strategists. And into living off the land, if you are playing as any of the rulers in 867 and doing a lot of raiding, this is going to help increase that raid speed as well as your supply capacity, allowing you to kind of be in, I guess, tumultuous lands that would otherwise drain it a little bit more effectively. Now, the most important perk, I think, though, is Sappers. This allows you to get basically your men-at-arms, your heavy infantry, spearmen, archers, and skirmishers, which you'll be using primarily a lot, right? That's almost all of your men-at-arms minus any of the cav options, and it's going to allow them to progress the siege faster. So if you are playing with a ton of men-at-arms, this gives you such a fast capability to siege, in addition to engineered for destruction. Hit and run's cool here, does help out with damage and toughness, and envelopment is great as well for men-at-arms counter efficiency. Then you also have strategist as your ultimate perk that just gives you some diplomacy, some martial, and crosses rivers and straits without advantage penalties, yes, which is a very good lifestyle trait. But overall, I think that you get more out of Gallant and more out of Overseer, and Strategist, I think, can just be, you can get just a couple points in Strategist and not go all the way through it and get plenty of benefit out of it. That's why I think it's a really great B tier. Moving into Intrigue again, we have the Schemer line. And this first one, Truth is Relative, enables you to fabricate hooks and schemes, of course, or fabricate hooks, you don't fabricate a scheme, but Find Secrets might also fabricate hooks, which is great. And hooks, if you use in conjunction with the Fate of Iberia DLC or with some of the stewardship lines like Golden Obligations, can just net you so much money. So this is, I think, a really amazing perk on its own. And again, why I've kind of put it in that B tier, it's that all-comers type of lifestyle focus. Now, Digging for Dirt's going to help out with finding secrets, and Kidnapper allows you to abduct things. Now, people. Abducting can seem kind of flat on paper, but if you abduct, say, a vassal that has a title that you want, you can use that as a chance to remove the title from him since he's going to be placed into prison. Think of this as an ability to really kind of redraw the boundaries because you've already put someone into prison that you can then deal with from there. Abducting is a very strong ability that has since been curved back since the game came out, but it really allows you to do a lot of crazy things. And we've got more to do with that once we get to the Schemer perk itself. But Court of Shadows, who knows what a Court of Showers, but a Court of Shadows is going to help with disrupt scheme effectiveness, which is great for just passive defense. Having high intrigue also gives you passive defense, which is great. Prepared for Anything is going to help with enemy hostile success chance reduced, and enemy hostile success chance against your courtiers reduced, which is also good if someone's trying to, say, kill your court physician or any of your knights. Now, these right two, I think, are also extremely crucial for Schemer. Swift Execution allows you to increase your murder scheme power by 30%, meaning you can actually sufficiently murder people. And then A Job Done Right gives you hostile scheme success chance plus 25% chance, or plus 25%, which adds into that previous murder. So I like these two in conjunction. They work very well together, especially if you're trying to fabricate hooks. Then you get Twice Schemed, which just adds an additional hostile scheme that you can do. So Schemer is great. Pushing all the way to the bottom of it, though, I don't think is absolutely necessary. I think it works very well to get an added layer of fun in there. The nice thing, though, about this Schemer perk is that it grants you 5 Intrigue. And 5 Intrigue gives you that passive bonus to any of your hostile schemes, a passive defense, of course, to hostile schemes against you, but also it increases your chance of imprisoning people. So if you have a vassal that you didn't, or you failed to abduct and you're trying just to imprison them, having Schemer giving you that 5 intrigue, or maybe having a wife that gives you a lot of intrigue, helps with that increased chance to imprison someone. So keep that in mind when you are kind of working things out for yourself. Now, also we have the, where is it? Where am I going? Where is August? It's over here. It's in the same tree. So we're looking at the diplomacy tree of August, and what I think is the big thing with August is the first 4 perks. And on top of that, these first 4 perks don't stand on their own, in my opinion. Sway Scheme Power plus 30%, that one does. Okay, so I ate my words there. But this next one, Inspiring Rule, monthly prestige per powerful vassal in the council plus 5%. So that's very rare that you're going to have a lot of powerful vassals that you put onto your council. So it's kind of a bit of a junk perk. And if you look at Firm Hand, monthly prestige per dread plus 1%, and then Praetorian Guard, monthly prestige per night plus 2%. So this is what my problem with August is. August. I think that it works better with other lifestyle focuses, other perks out there, because you can get more knights through Gallant, right? So you get Household Guard, number of knights plus 4. Well, that's going to increase right here by an additional, 8% monthly prestige per knight? That's huge. Firm Hand, okay, I want more dread. Well, I'm going to get that through Overseer, or I'm going to get that pretty easily through Torturer. So I think that August works really well with other focuses and not on its own. True Ruler does give you offer vassalization acceptance plus 25, which is very nice if you're trying to eat up a lot of people that you have the de jure titles of. Writing History, you can take Commission Epic Decision. If you are playing in the new Fate of Iberia DLC, you'll just have this in the opportunity phase. You don't need to worry about it. A Life of Glory gives you a level of fame impact plus 100%. Can be nice if you're playing a tribal lord that does need a lot of fame. And Dignitas here gives you diplomacy per level of fame plus 1. Then lastly, you get the perk itself that gives you diplomacy, martial, and prestige. But like I said, these first 4 are really where the tree itself shines, and I think it requires stuff from the A and S tiers, which we're about to talk about next. Now for A tier, we're taking a look at focuses that are overall just very strong. They're not maybe game breaking, but they're just really good. They're really solid. They're just going to get you through a really solid game. Nonetheless. And the first one is Whole of Body. I think by and large, most people have tried this one already, or it's just a great way to keep an existing good ruler alive longer, or if you kind of edge into it at the end of someone's life, it can be a great way to have a ruler stay alive just a little bit longer to get them into a point where their heir maybe comes of age or whatever it is. And the first one right here, Anatomical Studies, gives you court physicians that cost less and their treatments have better outcomes. So that is an amazing perk in and of itself. You could take nothing and get a lot of benefit from that. But as you move down into the center portion, you get 2 of the most important perks here. Restraint allows you to embrace and abandon celibacy. So if you're playing as any of the Islamic rulers in Fate of Iberia, and you have like 3 wives and you're just pumping out kids left and right, or you're playing through Northern Lords and you have a ton of concubines and you have all these kids coming out, this embrace celibacy, it basically allows you to just kind of shut that off if you want. It's a very nice perk capability here. And know thyself, when death of natural causes is 1 year away, you'll receive a warning. It's just a great way to be able to tie up all of your loose ends, spend any fame or piety that you need to before your character dies. Because remember, those 2 things don't transfer to your heir, but your treasury will. So you can use that time to really kind of fill your coffers or do any kind of last minute snatch and grabs, whatever it is, to just maximize that final year. Now, the left and right portions of this, we get Carefree, which reduces stress by 20%, and Mental Resilience, which helps with a break or a time between mental breaks by 3 years increased. Also, Wash Your Hands reduces chance of contracting illness and reduces chance of courtiers to contract illness, which is great. And lastly, Iron Constitution, which gives you a disease resistance as well, with 30% for fertility and massive boost for health. I just really like this center portion. It is so good, and Carefree couples really well with Whole of Body, which we'll get into in just a second here. But Healthy also just gives you a medium generic health boost. And if you're using the medicine focus, you already have a small health boost, so you get a lot of health out of this, which culminates then with Whole of Body, giving you that medium health boost, the fertility of 20%, and stress gain minus 20%. So you're looking at a total of minus 40% stress gain. So if you're dealing with lots of kids or a lot of stressful events towards the end of your life, when your parents are dying, your best friends are dying, or your siblings are dying, this kind of helps mitigate a lot of that stress gain that you would otherwise have to suffer through. Moving into Intrigue, we have the Torturer line, which is, it can be such a broken line. It can be so fun and so good. Dark Insights, just take a look at this. So when you torture someone, you have a 50-50 chance to gain either 1 Intrigue or 1 Prowess. And that has a max of 5, so you can only have 5 of each bonus gained. So just torturing people, you get better at what you're doing with Intrigue and Prowess. And then if you look down further into Divine Retribution, you do not lose piety or clergy opinion from torturing or executing others, which is great, because this way you don't have to worry about, well, this guy is actually, he's Catholic, I'm Catholic, this is going to result in me taking a hit somewhere across the board here. Not going to lose that anymore with Divine Retribution. With Dreadful, you're going to get a dread gain of 30%, which is going to come in huge when we talk about Fear Tax. And then you get Thriving in Chaos, which every single stress level you're at, you get a massive boost to your stats. So your Martial can cap out at what? Four times, so you get 12 Martial, 12 Intrigue, or 18 Prowess. And that is really, 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 really spicy. And of course, being at 3 stress level is kind of dicey in and of itself, but you're already playing a Torturer. You already have a frayed mind, so it's kind of fun with what it's dealing with. Malice Implicit gives you dread gain per tyranny. So basically, anytime you do any kind of tyrannical acts like adjusting a contract, or you're sitting there and putting someone in prison, or revoking a title, yeah, you're going to get tyranny, which is going to be a hard cap public opinion against you, right? It's a penalty against you. You're going to get a massive dread gain on top of it, though. So if you were going to gain 20 tyranny, well, you're also going to gain now 10 dread. And that's going to come in huge with this next one, Fear Tax. So intimidated vassals are going to give you 15% more taxes and more levy contribution. But a terrified vassal is going to give you 30% of both of those. And that's huge, because remember, terrified means that they cannot do anything against you. They are not going to join a faction against you, not going to plot against you, whereas intimidated means they are less likely. So you get a massive bonus to this, and dread is going to be so easy to gain, especially if you're going through doing tyrannical acts and just lopping off people's heads. Now, Forever Infamous means that you also have a much better dread decay of minus 1000%, right? So you're going to hold on to that dread longer. And Prison Feudal Complex, it has a 50% imprison chance, so you can just be popping people into prisons left and right. Also, remember, Intrigue does give a flat bonus to your chance to imprison people. Then lastly, Torturer gives you Prowess Dread Gain plus 50%, which is just spicy. Hostile Scheme Resistance plus 25, and then Levy Size plus 10%. So it's a very strong line that you can really pull a lot of strings and do a lot of crazy stuff with. Moving into Stewardship, we have the Architect line. Now, the Architect line, it does require you to kind of have money to take advantage of this right side, but there are so many benefits you're going to get from the left side, even further down, that I think it's a really, really awesome lifestyle focus. And it's one that maybe you're not your first ruler takes, but your second or your third one does, and they just pop off from it. So Taxman allows you to collect tax effectiveness, the Counselor task plus 25%. You get defensive measures. Just going to increase your garrison size in your fort. That's great, but you also now get the Purchase Truce interaction, which is new. That allows you just to purchase the truce ahead of time so that you don't have to get into a war with someone. Also, Organized Muster rolls give you levy reinforcement rate plus 100%, so your troops are going to come back faster. Those three are just so good, and they stand on their own, which is great. Now, the other three, Cutting Cornerstones, is going to reduce the construction costs for buildings and holdings by 5%. For the gold, piety, and fame, which is nice, but you just need to have you need to have all those three resources to even build something. Now, Professional Workforce also reduces the construction time for your buildings and your holdings. And lastly, Centralization does give you a flat development growth in your realm capital of plus 0.3 a month, which is great. That one does kind of stand on its own. Now, Popular Figurehead does increase your popular opinion by 50, which is good if you're dealing with any situation where you're dealing with a lot of conflicting faiths and conflicting cultures. You can have that offset here by Popular Figurehead. And then Divided Attention allows you to increase your domain limit by 2 on top of any bonus that having a high stewardship would grant you anyway. And then lastly, Architect is going to further reduce the construction time and the monetary cost of buildings and holdings in giving you stewardship. It is such a great way to just pop off after your first ruler, to just kind of build really tall and really strong. It really allows you to kind of throw your weight around. And moving into Martial, we have the Gallant line, which if you're playing as an 867 Tribal Lord, it's S tier for sure. It is just so damn strong because you can get such a benefit out of your knights, and you're making your knights so powerful because of their knight effectiveness and the amount that you can have, everything like that. So your first one here, Stalwart Leader, reduces the risk of commanding your armies, and you may challenge rivals to single combat, but also increases your fighting prowess as well. Then you go into Chivalric Dominance. It's going to give you knight effectiveness of 75%. So remember, 100% is your knights fighting at 100% capacity. At 200%, they're fighting at an additional 100% capacity, right? They're double their strength. So you're almost already there with this one because it's going to give you an additional 75% knight effectiveness. It is so good. Now, Never Back Down 2 is going to help reduce your friendly casualties of your knights and give them a knight advantage of +5. You couple that with the chivalry focus, you now have a knight advantage +10, which is great. And also we have Household Guard, which just increases your number of knights by 4. On the left side, though, you get Courtship, which is going to help with romance and elope, power and success chance. That's great and all. But Promising Prospects is really good because it enables you to marry you or your family, close and extended family, into better marriage options. Because remember, if there's a certain marriage success chance, if you don't have a high enough marriage success chance, you won't even see it as an option for arranging or finding a spouse, right? And the game just won't even present it to you. So this increases the amount of possible suitors or possible people on your marriage list that you can marry out into better situations. Then you also get Loyalty and Respect. The spouse opinion is good, but mainly here is skills from spouse counselor tasks +25%. So standard, the default is 50%. So now when you have your spouse, say, assist ruler, which is a different one, let's say Courtship or Court Intrigue, whatever it is, rather than giving you 50% of their skills, they're going to give you 75% of their skills, which is really good. Then we get Peacemaker, which means that you only have to get a conflict to 90% to then enforce your demands, which is, you'd think that the 10 isn't that awesome, but it's actually quite huge because it's quite easy, in my opinion, to get into that 90 to 95% threshold through just capturing the war target and maybe winning a battle or two. But this enables you to pretty much just kind of force that demands right at 90%, which is great. And then Gallant, of course, gives you martial prowess, monthly prestige +20%. And remember, if you're playing as that tribal lord, that monthly prestige is going to come in such a huge advantage because you're using prestige to purchase your men-at-arms and do a lot of stuff with tribal. So that's a really nice bonus right there. And then Attraction Opinion +20, which is always kind of fun. Now we talked that's all 4. Never mind. So now that we've talked about whole of body, we've talked about torture, we've talked about architect and gallant, let's move into our S tier to close our lifestyle focuses out. S tier is where we're at, and these are the strongest lifestyle focuses in the game, in my opinion, and they are quite good. So let's look at Avaricious, our first one here in the stewardship tree. We're going to be looking at 2 here, both Administrator and Avaricious, but Golden Obligations is amazing. So you can demand payment for hooks. You can get those hooks from fabricating them, like we took a look at in the Intrigue line, or you can actually do that by gaining a weak hook by releasing a prisoner. If you're the house head, you're going to have weak hooks on everyone. So demanding payments is so huge, especially with the new Fate of Iberia DLC, because you're going to be getting those hooks a lot to forward the hostility catalysts. Here Guild also allows you vassal tax contribution by 10%, and Detailed Ledgers is going to help out with Republican vassal contribution by 15%. So those are huge. Also helps out with their opinion of you, and that's how Republics work. Higher opinion means they give you more money. So these are ways that you're going to be getting a lot of money. War Profiteer also mitigates the amount of damage for your income, right? The amount of income that you lose while being at war gives you 10% more. Fearful Troops is going to help reduce the maintenance per dread by -0.5% per dread point. Then It Is My Domain allows you to extort subjects and just get money from them. You can just pull money from them. It's lovely. It is. Sometimes you're lucky and just can extort a baron who's really not really going to be much of an issue for you, and it's just a great way to just suck up some random gold into your account. Also, Golden Aplomb, whatever. Monthly income per stress level +10%. I don't like that one as much because I don't like to have high stress levels, but at any cost allows you just to sell these titles for prestige. And it's just random titles. It's like these trivial ones. So basically you're swapping, I think it's like 500 or 600 prestige, and you get a certain amount of gold in exchange for that. And it's just it is basically the key to heavy amounts of money in the game. Then Avaricious gives you even more from your actual holding taxes +15%, and stewardship. In stewardship itself, remember, will also give you increased taxation and more money. So really is going to funnel into your bottom line, as it were. Administrator over here is another really strong with meritocracy. You can use the claim throne scheme against your liege, so you can just immediately claim their title. Well, it gives you a CB on their title, basically, right? It gives you a claim on it. But then Chains of Loyalty helps with learn language and domestic affairs efficiency, helping with any kind of vassal issues you might have. Likeable, again, helps with that direct vassal opinion plus 10, helps out with your liege liking you too if you are a vassal of a liege. And then Positions of Power, counselor opinion plus 20. So there's just so many ways that you can get such a better relationship with your vassals, with your counselors, with your liege, that enables you to do a lot more and have to deal with a lot less. But this one too is huge. Large levies, vassal levy contribution plus 20%. So you're going to have more military use right there. Oh, go away. Then Soon Forgiven, monthly tyranny, minus 0.15. This is really helpful if you're playing any of the French characters that do have a tyranny decay of minus 75%. So they hold on to tyranny for longer. This can kind of help mitigate some of that. But toe the line is huge. Your vassals are less likely to join independence factions. So you're going to be dealing with those little pesky independence factions far less with the administrator line. Then you also get honored to serve. So powerful vassal counselor tax contribution is plus 20% as well as their levy contribution. So putting them on there increases it by 20%. And putting them on your council increases it by 20%. But this is, like I said, it's like Inspiring Rule, monthly prestige per powerful vassal. This works really well in conjunction with wrong. With administrator, right? So that's what I mean. Like a lot of these will layer really well with some other lifestyle focuses, especially if you're looking at stuff like the Dread one, right? So getting more fearful troops. So Dread, higher at Dread, this is really going to help you out. So being able to socket this into other things is even better. So those two are crucial and really, well, not maybe crucial, but really amazing lifestyle focuses. Let's pop into learning to look at Scholar, which in my opinion is probably the strongest line. It's personally my favorite one in the game as far as like, okay, this one's going to push me forward hard. And Pedagogy is amazing. Your wards can get additional skills and they become your friends. So if you have your children that you're teaching, it allows you to befriend them. But also if you have, say, not a foreign, but you have one of your vassals that's kind of being a shit and they're a child, you can become their ward. They'll become your ward. And this enables you to come out of that situation as their friend and less of an issue. Learn language success chance is also very nice if you're trying to help out with any of that opinion gaining. Also, open-minded is going to help with different culture opinion as well as cultural acceptance. Same thing with that learning of the languages, right? Because you can now learn 2 more languages without any penalties. And then Apostate is going to help with faith conversion costs drastically reduced and different faith opinion plus 15. This is really helping you out in any lands in which you are expanding into a foreign faith. Now for scientific, cultural fascination progress is increased by 35%. You are going to become the head of your culture eventually, right? That just kind of happens when you play Crusader Kings 3. So getting that progression is really nice to get through the things that you need. Now into planned cultivation, increased development and county efficiency plus 20%. So doing it on your capital, you're going to have this capital that's like girthed out like Rome in no time. Also, scholarly circles means that learning per level of devotion is increased by 2. Usually this is all by 1. Anytime you see a per level of blank, it's usually just 1. An additional plus 2 is so huge because getting high learning, especially with a scholarship focus, which already gives you plus 3, means you are going to be ripping through stuff like your innovations and what have you. Learn on the job is also amazing because you get 20% of counselor's primary skills added to your own. It is broken. And then sanction loopholes allows you to buy claims. So you can just simply, hey, you know what? You want to expand over into that duchy next to you? Buy the duchy claim and you can just do it. And lastly, you get the Scholar trait here, which is going to give you learning plus 5, but also hostile and personal scheme success chance plus 10%. So if you couple this with some intrigue stuff, you can actually get really, really nasty with some crazy things you can do. And development growth is also going to increase by an additional 15% as well. So you're going to have some great developed locations in your land. Now, moving here into the Martial line, we have Overseer, another really strong one, very similar to Torturer. And I think that Torturer and Overseer can kind of be interchangeable depending upon your play style. But this one we've got Serve the Crown, which increases your natural dread by 15. Now, if you couple this with the Authority Focus, you have a dread gain of plus 20%, which is very nice, and a control growth of 0.3 a month. So using those two in conjunction is quite horny, because you're getting that plus 0.6 control growth a month and a much faster dread gain. A Man's Home, controlled territory defender advantage plus 5, which is really good if you are, say, fighting against another faction and you take let's just say their capital, and they're coming to siege it back. Well, that's considered your controlled territory, so you get a better defender advantage there. Enduring Hardships gives you an increase to your fort level, and then enemy occupations do not lower control, which is huge because that is so annoying when you're fighting a war. Then Prepared Conscription here gives you army gold maintenance minus 15% and friendly territory levy reinforcement rate plus 100%, meaning it is far easier to get your troops back online mid-conflict. Strict Organization is going to increase control in a county progress gain plus 20%, so meaning that Counselor Task is going to really bring things back online with absolute control, which we'll get into in a little bit. And then Hard Rule, that dread gain is now going to get an additional 20%. That's 40% dread gain. Siege progress against revolts plus 50%, and faction military threshold for vassals plus 20%. And Soldiers of Lesser Fortune, mercenary higher cost minus 30%. So Overseer is really about capitalizing on dread gain to ultimately result in absolute control for a county. And this is a special state of control enabled by the absolute control perk, denoting that the ruler has an iron grip over the population. Whenever control is 100, it will instead display as absolute and give additional taxes and levies. This is what makes Overseer so strong, because you get that absolute control going and you have so much dread across all the dread gain that you can get and everything like that, that none of your vassals are going to come out of line. They're going to all stay in line and you don't have to worry about a damn thing. So I really like absolute control. And lastly, you do get Overseer as your final perk that gives you martial stewardship and then control growth plus 50%. So you can just use Strict Organization and that control growth that you're getting from Serve the Crown, from your Authority Focus, and from Overseer to just really take advantage of a ton of great things. So like I said, these two awesome Avaricians and Administrator in Stewardship are such strong lines, and you have this really great one in Scholar and then an amazing one here in Overseer. So now that we've taken a look at all of these lifestyle focuses, let's take a look at what this would look like as far as each of the lifestyles and how they push themselves into an overall ranking. And with these 5 lifestyles, we have got this ranking that I've created. And the way that I've done this was basically looking at how I ranked each one of the respective branches, and I gave a number amount to each one of those tiers, and then I added each of the branches total tier number up and then averaged it out. So this is kind of how it fell, and this is how I really thought of this before even making this video. I always thought of as diplomacy and intrigue as interchangeably the weaker of the two lifestyles, but by no stretch of the imagination are they terrible, right? The lowest one here is C, which is just pretty average, right? But S in stewardship for sure, because stewardship I think is probably on its own the strongest lifestyle. And then martial and learning, I think both are rightfully deserved A tiers, with intrigue at B tier and then diplomacy at C tier. So again, look at this with a grain of salt. Don't think that, oh man, if I want to play a diplomatic character, I'm playing the game wrong. You're not. You are absolutely not. Min-maxing this game is one way to approach it, and I think that if you do min-max it, you take a lot of fun out of the game, because the game is such an RP style game. You know, oh, you're playing a hunchback character who's really good at intrigue. Well, that's the role you're going to play. So don't feel like you have to play stewardship with every single character. You've got to go down martial and be an overseer, whatever it is. Play the style that fits most with the character you've created and with their offspring, because that's the way I like to approach this. Is every time I play a new character or a new generation within that character's line, I like to kind of like, okay, well, how would this character be? Let's look at his lifestyle, or let's look at his actual perks or his traits, and then kind of go from there. So this is just to kind of give you a barometer on what these kind of lifestyle focuses, how they spread themselves out, and how the lifestyles themselves shake out. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Do you feel that, hey, you know what? I rock with the Theologian, or this is how I play Diplomacy, and it really, really helps me, and I haven't seen a better way to play it. Whatever it is, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Share that information. Give people some fun ideas on their next playthroughs of Crusader Kings 3, because I think a lot of people are going to be jumping through quite a few here with the Fate of Iberia and the console version's launch in the just last month and a half or so. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.